Hey, what's up, guys? Happy to be with you here. I wanted to talk about something that I think is really important for anybody trying to maintain the pace that is necessary for a full baseball replay, much less doing it crazy like I am, which is trying to do two. So, what you're going to need to figure out how to do is how to pace yourself sort of the right way, right? So you get really excited sometimes with these projects. I think we all do, especially right after having a good game or when a good pennant race is starting to emerge, and you want to just start to play games as quickly as you can and get through one game after another, after another, after another. Now, that's easy to do if you have autoplay, but as I've said before, you want to be careful with autoplay because that will sort of take the flavor out of your bubble gum. That will make your replay, which otherwise would have been very engaging and interesting, potentially turn into something that is not engaging, not interesting, and is just sort of a computer exercise. You don't really want to do that. The reason why you're playing this game, hopefully, is because you like the game engine you're playing with and because you're actually interested in what happened and because you want to sit through it and you want to get through the whole thing, right? Now, you have to be careful about burnout. You really have to watch out for burnout. I've talked about this in other contexts with other games like Football Manager, but it is something that impacts replayers as well. Addiction is another thing that can impact replayers, and because of this, you need to have a plan for moving forward, and you need to have the ability to tell yourself, okay, I've played enough games today, I need to move on, or, hey, I just need to do one more, I have the time to do this for whatever reason, let me try to get this one more out, and let's try to move on with it. It's important, though, to pace yourself. You don't want to try to play too many games. Everybody's different when it comes to this, right? I've talked before about, what's his name, about Mike on the replay forum, who's played 25,000 plus individual replay games, Mike Mateus. And when you look at the pace that he plays at, he's able, especially in retirement, to play like an entire day's slate of games in a single day. That's great for him. For me, there's no possible way I could do it. I would have a real hard time trying to play, like, say, 8 games in a single day, even if it were using 2 different game engines. At some point in time, I would start feeling jaded, and I would especially try to do something different so that I don't just totally, like, burn myself out and wear myself out trying to do this. So I'll show you how I handle this, right? I've shown you some of this stuff before, but I haven't shown you everything. So what I have, among other things, is I have a couple of files that I use to take a look at sort of what my approach is going to be. I have Diamond Mind open here, right? We just finished playing the game that you just finished watching, the Giants and the Pirates. There are 2 things that I will look at, and I do this on a day-by-day basis in terms of the days, each of the days in season, right? I want to take a look at the day and say which of these games look like they're good when you take into account, here in the early going, the pennant race. Later on in the season, we'll think about the pennant race, but we might also think about the leaders, or is there something interesting happening? Is somebody on a good home run pace or something like that? Is there a reason why we might be really interested in this season? Right, and I will then look at that day's games and say, okay, we want to show this one and that one. So when we look at tomorrow's games, right, obviously we're going to want to see the Red Sox play the Tigers. We're probably not going to care so much about the Senators or the White Sox since they're in last place. I know I could play this on camera for everybody if you wanted to see it, if you really wanted to see it, but I don't want to do that, in part because it's a little bit slower for me to play games when I'm talking about this. It's not so great for my voice, and I worry about the channel. I don't want to have a whole bunch of stuff on the channel that is of very low interest, right? Because you want to have people who come back and watch because the games are interesting. You don't want to have them say, like, oh, this is the 2 last place teams playing against each other. I just don't want to see this, right? So we would skip that game. I would play it, but not play it on camera. The Athletics of the Indians, well, this is a big one because both of them are a game and a half out of first place behind the Yankees, so we definitely will show you that. And, of course, the Yankees and the Browns, we're going to show you that one just like we did the most recent Yankees and Browns game. Reds and the Cubs, I probably will not show to you, and the reason why is because the Reds and the Dodgers is what I'm saying. I'm saying the wrong thing here. It's because the Dodgers, though they have a really good offense, are not part of the pennant race here so far, so we will not show you that one. Cubs and the Braves, we would also not show you unless the Braves managed to win today. I don't think they play today. Oh, they did play. The Braves did win. That's the reason why they're only 4 games out, but it's still not quite close enough for it to be interesting for me. Giants and Pirates, of course, we will show you. Cardinals and Phillies, we're not going to show you. But again, if the Cardinals get on a winning streak and they get closer, we'll start showing you those games, right? Now, what I do with that information then is I go over to this other document I've created, which is my video posting schedule. And this I've had in different formats, and decided to do what I wound up doing with it in the end. So I have dates here where I show every single date that I'm filming a game and then the games that I'm doing off camera. And I have this set up so that I have 1908 games here and 1949 games here. And I kind of know, okay, I look at this in the morning, for example, and I say, okay, I got to record a couple of games here. Next, we're going to do what the Cardinals or the Pirates, 1908. And I've already figured this out, so I don't have to keep going back and looking at what the standings are like for 1908. 1908 schedule, I've showed you this before. This comes from this document where I have all of the games here written in order, and I put a little X there when I've finished playing one off. So I make sure that I keep everything in order, right? But I want this to be separate than the video posting schedule, because I use this to sort of make sure that I have the right pace. The idea behind this is that with every new day, I should have a game to record ready to go, right? And then all of the off-camera stuff we can play afterwards. And the reason for that is, of course, because I can play a game, like say it's almost time for dinner or something like that. I can fit in bits of a game here or there. If we have to go somewhere, do something with the kids, I can fit in little bits here or there. If I have a meeting for work and I have to stop something in between or something like that, I can fit little bits in here and there and so on, right? It's because if I'm playing off camera, it's really easy for me to play a little bit and then take a break, even if it's for like 3 hours, and then come back and finish it up, right? Whereas if I'm playing it on camera, I don't really want to have that sort of real clunky, kind of odd feeling thing that really cuts into my ability to play and ability to focus. The idea behind doing this is hopefully to be able to show as much of the pennant race as possible as it develops. But as I alluded to earlier, when the pennant race starts turning into a one-team race, which very well might happen, probably not 1949, 1908, it might happen with the Cubs, at least early in the early going. That's what we're seeing. If that does happen, then I'm going to have other games as well to sort of break up the monotony, so that I'm not like, oh, I play one game and then I have like 5 games off camera or something like that, right? Because again, that can get to the point where you kill yourself. You play too many games at once and you're like, this just isn't going to work. It's not happening. So that's the approach that I take. That's kind of the theory behind it. I also do a similar thing where I try to write up as many games on the blog that are well played and that are interesting as possible. Some of the games are poorly played but are somewhat interesting. So I'll show you an example of that. This came from yesterday. Yesterday I actually did a pretty bad job of following the rule I'm telling you about right now. I had too many games, both Diamond Mine and NPIII to play with. And the worst of them was this one, the Senators beating the White Sox 3-2 in 11 innings. I felt the obligation to write about it because it was an 11-inning game, but man, this game was ugly. The Senators had 20 men left on base. They got 11 hits, and the White Sox walked 13. The Senators should have absolutely, creamed them in this one. And there were multiple times in this game where the Senators left the bases loaded because guys struck out or just couldn't get a hit or whatever happened, And it ended up, what should have really been a rout ended up being a close game between the two worst teams in the American League, right? So you should feel happy that I didn't show this to you. And it was with great reluctance that I decided, fine, I will do what I feel I really should do and write about this game, even though I would rather never see anything about this game again for the rest of my life. That happens sometimes too, and when you're playing a replay and you're doing a big project like this, especially when you're playing through every game, you're going to have games that are not so great. You're going to have times where you're like, I really don't like this pitcher or this player. Why do I have to play with this guy? It happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us. If you find yourself running out of energy, I recommend going and looking up something about a player, or go back to the newspapers and read about what happened, or take a day off, or, go do something else with your time or whatever, right? Don't allow the thing to completely control your life. But if you do it a little bit at a time, a little bit here, a little bit there, you might have a project that you feel really good about, and you might find that you get a lot of real interesting things happening, and you start feeling emotional about like the 49 Pittsburgh Pirates, and think, oh man, if they had only gotten, another long ball in that game against the Giants, they would have tied it. They could have won it, and things like that. That's when you know that you're having a good time with your replay. Anyway, keep rolling, everybody, and I will talk to you later. Bye.